everybody, this is Philip from the Santa Cruz Tech Exchange, santacruztechexchange.com, and I am very pleased to be here, and thank you so much for joining us. Santa Cruz Tech Exchange is, if you don't know, a small local shop here in Santa Cruz, California. We buy, sell, trade laptops, desktops, pro audio, DJ equipment, synthesizers, keyboards, and we also do repairs, and we do rentals. So today I'm very pleased to bring you this interview that I did with Billy Lane, who is the founder of 916 Junglist. 916 Junglist regularly streams DJ sets out from Sacramento, California, and Billy Lane has been an avid streamer for a long time. So we are going to talk about all of the things related to computers and network and DJ equipment and just the logistics of streaming to various channels such as YouTube, Twitch, and Mixcloud, and some of these other ones. And I really want to invite you to just kind of stick through this and check it out, because it was a great interview. I was really happy to talk to my friend Billy. Lastly, I just want to ask you, if you like what you see, please like the channel, subscribe. We're going to be bringing you DJ sets and performances from performers as well as workshops related to live streaming and possibly some coding workshops and some various other things. So we want to just stay connected with you. Thank you so much for joining, and without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and start this stream, or this interview. Thank you.
Well, the elevator pitch, so to speak, for the 916 Junglist channel would be, it was created to keep us connected during COVID. That was the initial motivation.
Right.
And basically, I felt the separation happening and the need for connecting happening when we were all told to stay inside.
Mm-hmm.
And so I saw that as an opportunity to try and reach out to Sacramento's drum and bass community and build something for all of us to basically have something to do for the next few months. It started with my entire gig calendar. I'm a professional DJ by trade. And it started with my entire gig calendar basically disappearing in a matter of a week in the beginning of March. And it's a lot of entertainers will tell you the same thing in the live event space. As soon as the news got out that live events were canceled, all of the live event cancellations started happening. Go figure, right? And so in a matter of a week, my entire 2020 was blown out. It's never happened to me before in my entire career. And so I had all this time in my hands, and instead of, painting the room black and sitting in the corner and twiddling my thumbs, I decided to try to use this time to both expand my knowledge in areas that I felt that I was weak in, and do something that, like I said, brings a community together that we've been building. And 916 Junglist has been around for a lot longer than COVID.
Right?
Right.
I remember back in the day, I think we were just talking about this a second ago, but we used to spend a lot of drum and bass in Sacramento, all around town, and you're still doing that, which is awesome. I'm here in Santa Cruz now, but we're getting the honor and privilege of working together through the Tech Exchange, I think, a little bit here, which is
big up. Cool. Tech Exchange is my one and only sponsor, and I'm proud of that.
Business partners, so that includes Santa Cruz as well.
Absolutely. Yep.
We'll have you in the shop doing a DJ set with us.
Count on it.
Yeah.
Count on it. So yeah, 916 Junglist goes back 25 years, or 22 years now. 1998 was the first event that we threw. And so when people ask me, like, how did you build this community seemingly overnight on Twitch? And I, tell them it only takes 22 years to do. So, this wasn't something that was by chance. We've had this community for years, decades. And this is the COVID translation of what we've been building. Getting back onto 916 Junglist as what it stands for on Twitch. Every Wednesday, the 916 I'm just going to blatantly spell it out right now. Every Wednesday, I do a talk show.
Mm-hmm.
Three days with 3 different content every week. Every Wednesday, I do a talk show, and I like to call it the Black Belt course for DJs. I feel like there's a lot of "so you want to be a DJ" all over YouTube,
Right.
catering to a novice audience, and I feel like there isn't enough content that actually takes it a step further. And so I'm definitely coming across in a way that is, look, you know, if you're a novice, you're a novice. The learning curve is steep in this classroom. So if you're lost, then use the Google and figure it out, and then come back when you're ready. And then, which is great, because a lot of DJs with real tenure in this profession enjoy that position. They enjoy cutting through the fluff and getting right to the meat and potatoes, right? And then Fridays, I've turned it into kind of me being sort of my own thing. I DJ, I play video games, I talk, I do whatever I kind of want for a few hours. Fridays, I call it Fight Night, because it started off as just me playing Street Fighter. I'm a big Street Fighter fan. And ended up with, like, it started with just me and my friends playing Street Fighter on stream, and then it turned into me DJing. Yeah.
Yep.
And it's just a kind of a casual, fun thing, and I can't believe anybody even watches it, to tell you the truth. But Fridays, I get a little selfish, and then Saturdays, it's all about. So,
wait, so you're still doing the Street Fighter thing? Is that what you're telling me?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm doing it.
I did not know that. That's awesome.
This Friday, I'll be playing Street Fighter. Absolutely. So Wednesdays,
I'm doing Minecraft with my boy a little bit, but you know.
Oh, I love Minecraft. My son loves Minecraft too. We built our a zombie EDC in Minecraft.
Nice.
It was so much fun. So we built like actual like rave stages, right?
Yeah, nice.
And then we fenced the stages in, and then we filled them full of people, right? And then we figured out that if you actually corral the people in Minecraft, eventually they start turning into zombies. They start killing each other. And so it ended. You mean
the villagers?
The villagers, yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So it ended up being a zombie rave with a stage and a bunch of zombies in the crowd, and like you could walk around on the stage and like be the DJ on the stage and stuff. My son and I made it together.
That's really cool.
And it was funny. One day I walked away I don't even know for how long, and I came back and my son spawned, I gotta say, at least 300 chickens all over our world. And so now, like, there's still like so many chickens like all over our Minecraft world that we've been building together. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, the video game streaming is, I mean, that's kind of, I think a lot of people know, you know, how that's like what people are used to, right? But they're not really used to seeing DJs and musicians online, and that's kind of like a big phenomenon right now.
Oh, dude, can you believe like Carl Cox has a Saturday night off and he's DJing from his living room? Like that kind of stuff is unheard of. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's amazing. There's so many like just amazing, you know, even I don't know if you've seen that girl. She's like, I don't know, maybe 12, DJ Michelle.
Yes.
You seen her?
Yes.
Man,
that talent.
And she's just like a turntablist, you know.
Yeah.
She just like it's
incredible
phenomenal,
talent.
You know.
Yeah, I think that although, you know, live streaming DJ sets, audio and video, have been around as long as the internet. Audio first, obviously, because of bandwidth, and then video eventually as it got better. But I think that this pandemic has really pushed that medium into more of a mainstream light.
Yeah, definitely.
And
so one of the things, so I've got a Zoom thing coming up that where I'm going to start kind of teaching people some of the basics on some of the streaming stuff, and also, you know, because we have hardware that can help people do this in the Tech Exchange, right?
Yep.
Both Sacramento and Santa Cruz.
Yep.
And you know, it's funny, Sacramento. I just, you know, Simon and I don't know if you know this, but Simon and I met Simon. He was like 18, 19, and he was DJing at this little bar called the Distillery, right? And
I used to live by the Distillery.
Yeah, me too. I lived across the street at this big apartment complex on O Street.
Oh, but, nice. I used to live by Lam Quan up the corner.
Yep.
The dim sum spot.
Yep. So so anyway, I think, you know, it's just so cool to be working with him. You know, like we have you know, he started the Tech Exchange 10 years ago, right?
Yep.
And it's been
10 years.
It's been 10 years.
Wow.
And
and actually, it has been 10 years. Wow. Jeez.
You know, for me, it's like I've been kind of working in Silicon Valley, like, as an engineer at various companies like Apple and Unity, Magic Leap, stuff like that. And I just kind of said, hey, look, I actually became a single dad, last 3 years. And it was one of those, like, I can't be commuting. I live in Santa Cruz. I got to make something happen here.
Yeah.
And Simon and I were just bullshitting one day, and he's just like, hey, why don't you open up a tech exchange? I'm like, that's actually not a bad idea, So here we are, right? A couple of years later, here we are. And
congratulations, by the way. That's a big overhaul task to take on. And I hear your store is gorgeous. I haven't been yet, but I hear it's gorgeous over there.
It's a great store, and I think I've been trying to do my best to give back to Simon as well. I've signed kind of deals with various vendors that he didn't have before, like Pioneer DJ and Chevet and Korg and
dude, getting Pioneer DJ is like the flag in the ground. I feel like because I've looked into being a Pioneer dealer before, and it's not easy. They make you spend a lot of money to do it. And
well, they're also exclusive to the area. Like you can't be like, we're lucky because Santa Cruz has nobody. We're the only one.
Right.
Like that was like the main thing,
That's sick.
So,
being a Pioneer DJ dealer in the DJ producer space is like I said, that's the flag in the ground. That not only develops your rapport with your audience, but it also develops your rapport with potential other people that you want to retail in your shop. They see that you have Pioneer, and then they immediately, oh, you got Pioneer, good to go. You know what I mean? Like, so congratulations on that account. That's the one to get.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think, we've also branched out into synthesizers, which, I showed you a couple earlier, but, Sequential, Dave Smith keyboards, those guys, I got them on board.
Sick.
And Korg, of course, with the Volcas and the Wave State, which is the new synth, which just is such a great synth. It just sounds
I saw
so
the demos
amazing.
of it at the for the NAMM videos for the Korg Wave State.
Korg Wave State. That was the new one. Yeah.
That looks legit.
It's pretty hard to get right now. I got one. And so it's in my living room. I'm learning it so that when I do get stock, I can teach people, right?
Awesome.
But
I could spend hours on sound design with one of those. That'd be so much fun.
Oh my God, it sounds so good. Plus it's got this, like, you can just kind of morph between sounds, and it's Anyway, I digress a little bit. I think where I was trying to get to is back to the point here with the whole live streaming. It's like COVID hit, right? And suddenly audio interfaces are flying off the shelf,
I'm sure you saw a few webcams too.
Webcams, microphones, I mean, you name it, right? Green screen. It's funny because, in November, this is a weird story, but I bought 2 Elgato green screens, like the kinds you pull down and mount to the wall. And they weren't selling, and they were just taking up space. So I actually returned them. And
then now it's like gold.
and then I was like, fuck, I need one of those,
Yeah. So, green screen's the new toilet paper, really.
And so I almost bought one for 3 times the price from the UK. Just have one in the shop,
There's the Elgato capture cards, like the Camlink and things like that. Those have like tripled in price since COVID. The gouging has been real and that kind of stuff.
It's amazing. Right?
Right now I currently still need a HDMI. Like I want a 4-port HDMI capture card, like the Blackmagic one that's recognized as 4 individual. See, I need that.
I got one left.
Yeah, that's gold. And so the Elgato capture cards are like hotcakes. Webcams are hotcakes. Like all that just went crazy since COVID. And I was watching some people reporting on things like there'll be bots that scour Best Buy and Walmart to swoop up their inventory so that they can turn around and then resell it for a higher price.
Yeah,
so it was forcing big boxes to actually take the stock down on their sites so that they would be able to have them in stock in their retail.
Mm-hmm.
And it's gotten crazy at that point where they're able to gouge electronics. I think I was reading that for the first time it was actually cheaper to buy a pre-built PC than it was to part it out yourself, because the parts were components were so expensive.
Right.
Like,
yeah, it's crazy, you know. But I think one of the things that people also miss is and in a lot of discussions that people have are like, what about like computer requirements, right? Because like people start thinking, oh yeah, I just need a camera and I can stream like just like I do my Zoom calls. But when you actually want to start streaming, like your DJ set,
yeah,
you kind of need, first of all, you need a really solid connection, probably up, like your upload being like more solid than your download, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And you want to make sure that there's not like a bunch of people streaming in the house where you're at,
right?
And there's a bunch of stuff like that.
Preferably hardwired, like an Ethernet connection, not like any kind of Wi-Fi interference could be, to coming into play.
What do you use? I mean, so what do you do when you're doing your DJ sets? Like, what kind of setup do you have?
Sure, I'll let you know. I'm using a Xeon processor machine that I bought from Tech Exchange, and it's not an amazing computer. Yeah. But it's a dedicated streaming machine. It does one thing. It's a box that streams, right? Like I said, I want to get a couple of PCI expansions for it, but currently I'm using just the regular what's it called? The graphics card that's built in with the CPU. It's not a dedicated graphics card. It's the X 280, 264. I'm running bad with my terms. I'm not an engineer.
So wait, you're saying it is a dedicated one or not?
No, it's not. No.
Okay, so it's on the motherboard.
It's on the motherboard, exactly.
Okay.
And so I need to get that because I'm actually running into lag right now with getting complex with my overlays and things like that.
Well, I got if it's an AMD, I got an AMD 540, and if it's an Intel board or something like that, actually it doesn't really matter, but I do have an NVIDIA 1070 Ti at the shop that would work.
Sick.
Too. Yeah.
I'm reading that OBS likes to use the NVEC encoder on a dedicated graphics card. So honestly, like I feel like if I'm going to invest in a PC, I'm going to upgrade the PC entirely. I'm not going to build on this one. But I do love this little box. It does the trick for what I paid for it. So getting back into my setup, that's the box. The box is just a Xeon processor, 16 gigs of RAM, and a bunch of hard drive space for being able to record my VODs. And then I'm running it to a Mackie Pro FX 6.
Okay, mixer. Yeah, those are great.
And I chose to use a mixer instead of just an audio interface because I wanted the I/O flexibility and the EQ flexibility. And also, being a DJ and a front of house engineer, I like the tactile mixer ability, control, right? I can put my hands on a knob.
Totally.
So I'm using that as my I/O. And then the microphone is an M-Audio mix track. It's connecting to its own audio interface as a preamp. And that's the M-Track 2X2 M-Audio. It's just a mono input over with the the phantom power condenser mic.
Okay, so you're actually using a like just a condenser or a dynamic mic plugged in XLR to your audio interface.
No, I'm running it to a preamp that came with it.
Oh, the M-Track one.
The M-Track, right. So it's actually its own audio interface. So it's plugged in over USB as well.
Okay.
So the Mackie and the M-Audio are both connected to the PC over USB. And then I'm able to select them as individual audio sources in OBS.
Yeah, why are you doing that? So you have two different audio interfaces.
Yeah, so that allows me to be able to do a sidechain duck from I can target the M-Audio as the source of the ducking source, and then that way when I talk and the compressor kicks in and it ducks the Mackie when I talk. So it allows me in OBS to select the M-Audio interface as my mic source and also as the source that I'm using, because the audio stuff is what I know. And what I'm trying to do is when I talk and the volume is full blast on the mix, there's a talk over duck, right? The mix ducks down, and I talk over, and then the mix comes back up when I'm done talking, right?
Yeah.
So in order to configure that sidechain effect, right? In order to configure that, I'm using two interfaces. I'm using one dedicated to the microphone and one dedicated to everything else, which is my DJ setup, my desktop audio. I have a television plugged into it. You know what I mean? Like it's, or, and I can, you know, it's whatever, right? It's a mixer, right? So that way, I have two dedicated sources on the OBS mixer. I can level the mic and everything else individually.
Yep.
And also, I have the ability to do a wet dry monitoring to where I don't have to hear my microphone in my monitor, because I know a lot of people like to hear their own voice in their headphones, but I don't like hearing my own voice in the headphones. I actually don't like to hear my voice at all. So but I do like, I want to hear you. I want to hear the music that's playing. I want to hear alerts that are happening. So I'm monitoring that in my headphones, but I don't want to hear my voice at all. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I've noticed that, my primary DJ controller, and I know we talked a lot about Pioneer DJ earlier. I love Pioneer DJ, but my primary DJ controller is the Denon DJ Prime 4. And it's the flagship Denon controller, and I absolutely love it. So one of the things I do with it, you know, I mean, the ducking thing, right? I plug the microphone in, and then whenever I want to like actually talk, I just push the button on there, and it actually automatically does that
talk over duck
for me. Yeah.
Right.
So why not do something like that?
Well, okay, so I do that. Now there's a couple of different like stations that I'm at right now, right? I have my streaming set up in like a radio station. There's a Studio A and a Studio B. Studio B being the broadcast booth where I'm at now, right? I have control over OBS. I have my broadcast. I have the condenser microphone in front of me. I'm in the newsroom, so to speak, right? And then Studio A would be the production room. That's where I'm DJing. That's where my DJ booth is. That's where the dynamic microphone is connected to the controller. And I'm using the talkover switch on my, I use a DDJ 1000.
Yeah.
And so I'm using the talkover switch on the DDJ 1000. It does the ducking for me.
Yep.
And so that is Studio B. That's the production area. It's a lot like you ever been to KDVS or like a radio station?
Sure.
There's the broadcast booth, and then there's the production booth, right?
Yep.
So I have it set up that way here as well. That's what I'm doing.
So if I understand you correctly, you've got a ducking. You're using the dual audio interfaces in your production area to be able to duck things when you're not necessarily on the DJ booth, but when you're on the DJ booth, you're doing the ducking there.
Yes,
exactly. That makes perfect sense, man.
Yep.
So that way you can actually have another DJ that you're.
That's the plan. The plan is to be able to, you know, be the Ryan Seacrest, be the Mario Lopez, be the host of the show.
Yeah, totally.
And then cut over to the booth, and then cut back to the host, and then cut back over to the, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that's the plan when we're able to all get back together again.
That's right. And I actually set up a similar situation at the Santa Cruz Tech Exchange in the store, believe it or not, to show this off to people. So hopefully one day you can come down and explore it. But basically, you know, in the front of the shop, we have the Denon DJ Prime 4, a couple of Technique 1210s, the black ones, of course, and then
slick.
Yeah, and then I got a couple of subs and you know, some 15-inch altos kind of blasting the store, and then directly in front of that, there's a little demo area with a dedicated streaming PC. It's an i5, and I think it's an i5 7600 or something like that, 7th gen, and 16 gigs of RAM and an SSD. Now, I was gonna say, I think one thing in a computer build, when you're thinking about a computer for streaming, you definitely need a lot of you need hard drive space, and you need a good hard
storage.
Drive.
Yeah.
It's less. So here's where I'm getting with this. So I mean, you know, you used to work at Apple and stuff like this too. Like swap space is really important, right?
Yep.
So an SSD allows the memory. So if you have multiple applications open, which you often do, like when you're streaming, those applications can't hold all of the stuff that they're processing in memory in the dedicated RAM. So they actually use
Right.
memory. And
Right.
so that virtual memory gets sent to the hard drive into swap space. It gets placed there on the hard drive. It gets written there. So if you have a slower hard drive, if you don't have an SSD and you don't have the space, your CPU and it's going to feel incredibly slow. Like every time an application needs to go access a page that
Right.
is written to disk to load that page into memory.
And it's not an SSD; it's a regular. Yeah, it's good.
And it's just a regular hard drive. It can actually you'll feel the speed. And if there's not enough hard drive space, like I would say at least 75%. Like you'd want to have at least 25% of your hard drive free.
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
you're
Yeah. Yeah.
streaming. So, all this stuff is happening, and this is one of the things we do. Like one of the number one upgrades we do at the Tech Exchange is to upgrade people's their older hard drives to an SSD, transfer their data, and it makes their computer instantly feel dramatically faster, whether you're streaming or not. So
even things like normal process stuff that they're used to seeing seems lightning fast. Like a boot up process on an SSD is incredibly faster than a normal hard drive.
Yeah.
And the performance aspect with SSD versus normal hard drive is relative across a lot of different things, including streaming.
Yeah. So anyway, that was my my little rant there, and that just to give you sort of like I don't know. We have this dedicated streaming station in the front, and there I only have one audio interface. Now I'm going to add a second audio interface now that we've talked, because but I do have the Mackie Studio Plus, the Big Knob Studio Plus there.
Mm-hmm.
So I can actually switch between sources, and I can switch between monitors.
That's
pretty cool. So
that's sick. I have I just have the master level knob. I turn it up or down for my monitoring.
Yeah.
Getting back to the configuration.
Yeah.
I have my Studio A, Studio B sort of set up.
Yep.
And then as far as the audio goes, it's just an XLR out of my controller into the XLR input of the Mackie. And then everything is pretty much set flat. I don't do a whole lot of EQing on the Mackie. It's mostly for trim and gain and just mixing signal so that it sounds good.
So that let me clarify one thing. That second audio interface that you have your microphone plugged into, do you have anything else in there, or is that mostly just for your microphone?
It's mostly just for the microphone. I use it as what I would normally, because in a recording studio, I would plug a condenser microphone into something that can first give it phantom power, and also I would probably give it a nice preamp, and like a fat tube, a valve or something running through it, right? These digital ones that just connect over USB, I figured it's going to be a direct connection, so I might as well use this because it came with the mic. So it's a preamp that was engineered to be with the mic, right? Okay. So it's going to sound good.
So you could theoretically get away with just a USB microphone then.
You could theoretically get away with the USB microphone.
Like a Blue or something like that.
Yeah, I think that anybody who's spending over $100 on a condenser mic for live streaming is probably doing it for show, because the mic is gorgeous.
Right.
Not necessarily because anybody's going to be able to tell how much better it sounds than the next one. I mean, arguably, if you did a side-by-side or a shootout, you'll be able to hear the difference. But the listener listening to one show versus a listener listening to another show isn't going to care or tell the difference between one or the other.
Yeah, I mean, we do have a couple of, so for example, like the M Audio Uber mic, right? I don't know if you've seen that one, but it's a USB microphone. You just plug it right in. It's pretty big. It's a pretty big condenser. It's like this big, and it has, different cardioid patterns on it. So you can select,
Yeah, those sound great. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Those sound great. Yeah.
So I think those are features that I've heard people, like, especially if they've got two people in the room, they want to or if they're recording an instrument. Now, I'm using this Audio Technica condenser here, which you're right, it looks pretty, but the main reason that I bought it was so I could actually record vocals and sample myself.
That's different. Yeah. So if you're,
but it works great for this too.
if you're in the recording studio, it's kind of like in graphic design, print versus digital, right? Print requires a lot higher resolution in order for it to look good. So like in recording studio, think of that as being like the print, right? You need a lot higher resolution. There's a lot more attention to detail when it comes to laying this down. Now, could I do a good recording with a $100 microphone, condenser microphone? Absolutely. Yeah. But that $20,000 Neumann is going to sound gorgeous on a recording if you have the right voice running into it. You know what I mean? So, yeah. So that's different. That, that's when, why these expensive microphones exist, is because of these legendary dream studios that have the ability to produce with them. Right. But gamer that wants to stream, or DJ that wants to stream, most people, let's be real. According to my stats, the majority of the people that are watching my stream are watching it from their mobile device. Even though I'm preaching, put this on in your living room, you're listening to a DJ, what are you doing? Yeah. But it's reality, right? Yeah. Yeah. And so if most of your audience is listening from a mobile device, one, they're not going to be able to hear the difference between my microphone and a microphone that's $20,000. And also it's pointless. You know what I mean? Yeah. Any case, I'm running off on a rant. Caffeine.
Yeah, no. I think it's a very important point, though. Microphones. It's like there's a million of them out there, and why does it matter? I mean, this is a whole stream all in of itself, right? Like, but ultimately, I think you're right. Like,
and if you're DJing,
and go from there.
If you're DJing, also, I'd like to also say that if you're DJing and you're in a loud monitoring environment, and you don't have the ability to quickly kill the monitors when you turn your microphone on, right? You don't have a talk over button like in the radio station, right? Mm-hmm. I would not recommend using a condenser microphone in that environment.
Right.
You should use a dynamic microphone in that environment because, and talk close to the microphone, because the dynamic microphone won't pick up the room as much. Still does, but not as much as a condenser mic, and it'll sound like you'll be able to hear everything with a condenser mic running hot.
Well, and that's what you do in the club too, right? Like, right. if you're DJing and you got somebody on, or even on stage, right? That's why you have the SM58 dynamic mic. That's what most people use for singing on stage, where there's tons of noise. And your condensers are great for recording in recording studios in a quiet room, and that's what they're for. So hey, I'm gonna jump topics real quick to video, because I think that's also a really important one. And we kind of talked about it earlier, not on this stream, but before we talked about lights and video and camera quality and that sort of thing. And it's like, I've definitely noticed that, like, light helps a lot. And like, people are often like, hey, I'm going to go buy this really fancy camera. But what do you think about that? Like,
I think that right now I'm using a $15, $20 webcam.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look terrible. And it's because I have a $300 set of lights in front of me. And I think that anybody who is trying to improve the image quality of their video, investing in lights, and they already have a camera, investing in lights would do you more good than investing in a better camera if you're on a budget. And then after you've gotten your subject lighting, learn how to use them, learn about things called 3-point subject lighting, learn about how to use your lights, right? Yeah. And then at that point, absolutely get a better camera. I have a DSLR camera in my DJ booth.
Yep.
Which
DSLR do you have?
It's a TI6 Canon EOS.
Oh, interesting. I think I'm using the same one. Yeah, Canon. Well, I have the Rebel T6.
Yeah, that's it.
Except for I have one problem with that camera, and it's bothering me quite a bit. But I can't get rid of the little face tracking square. Yep.
So are you running? You're running
HDMI.
The HDMI
into a Madewell capture card.
Yeah. See, you're actually capturing at a higher resolution than I am.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm using the Canon webcam utility.
Yeah, so
That was the-
you're doing the screen capture from the app.
No, it's,
Okay.
it's a new app that came out from Canon. You're thinking of the Canon EOS utility that's been around for years.
Yeah.
This came out a couple of months ago. This is
Oh,
brand
okay.
new.
Okay.
Canon is invading the webcam space right now. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
No, I didn't know that.
Look up the Canon Webcam utility. Okay.
Canon webcam utility.
Okay, this is for Mac and Windows. This is going to kill Elgato. Basically, they've made it so that they have a compatibility list, and they've made it so that you can connect directly over USB. And there's no interface. It just is now recognized as a web camera in OBS or in Zoom or whatever. Yeah.
Wait, so I'm seeing the EOS webcam utility beta.
Yep.
Is that it?
It's still in beta. It's still in beta. Yes.
Okay.
And it is glitchy. I do have my share of trouble.
But I mean, hey, if that so you're saying USB, not HDMI.
So it goes over USB-C or USB 3.0. Okay. And USB-C, it'll provide bus power as well.
Mm-hmm.
But USB 3.0 doesn't provide bus power.
The funny thing is like when we first started using the DSLR, everyone was wearing we were wearing face masks on our stream. So the capture, the little face tracking thing did not show up at all.
Right.
It was like, I don't see a face. I just see a fucking mask.
Right.
So, but
yeah, I think that the Canon M50 has what you're looking for is called a clean HDMI output.
Yeah.
And that's the term that you're looking for, because right now, that the T6 does have a dirty HDMI output. So if you were to run the HDMI into a capture card, you're going to see the autofocus.
And it also turns off after, there's some settings I got to adjust, but a buddy of mine is actually going to bring over one of those really nice Sony, video cameras.
Camcorder.
Yeah, for this stream, maybe.
I've been thinking about that because, if you think about it, these DSLR camera outfits, if you're going to get a DSLR and a nice lens, or a mirrorless camera too. I actually would say a mirrorless camera instead of a DSLR, honestly. So if you're going to get a mirrorless camera and a nice lens, you're looking at $1,000 to $1,200 investment in your camera.
Oh yeah, totally.
Your Sony or even a JVC or Panasonic, these professional camcorders that were made for taking like cinematography or broadcast, right? They are right around the same price point, maybe up to $2,000, right? And these have they're SDI. They can run SDI, which is not HDMI. It's a higher quality output. It runs audio and video and time code out to your capture card, which would need to be an SDI capture card. And it you have XLR inputs on those. So there's your audio interface. You don't need an audio interface at that point because the camcorder is your audio interface.
Right.
So you would run XLR out of your DJ mixer or controller into the camcorder, and then run it line. You can switch it to line, run it in, set your pre's to flat, and then that's going to run out SDI, still digital, SDI into your computer, and then your computer is able to decipher both the audio as a source, the video as a source, and time code if you're shooting, if you need to have the time code as well.
Right, so you can do compositing or whatnot.
You do compositing, exactly.
So interesting thing is that there's a company that we work through, Marantz Pro. Both
Marantz is great.
Both, basically Tech Exchange. We were dealers for Marantz Pro, and basically one of the things you can buy is a DSLR mount audio interface. So you can actually, and I actually have one in the shop. You put your DSLR on it, and you can plug in. Yeah, exactly. You put it on the stand, and then you mount your camera to it, and then you can plug in an XLR mic, and you can basically put a boom mic up on top of the camera if you want, or whatever you want, right? And so those are actually pretty cool. I have a few in the shop, so
that's ideal. That's I could see that, especially prior to like how we would apply it. Yeah. I could see that being useful for like a mobile photography, mobile videography, people who do videography for weddings and need an audio source. Yeah. Things like that. Totally see that.
Yeah, because you can also take the mic off of the camera and then mount it to a boom and then hold it up, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Or you can just walk around with the camera with the mic on top and a little audio interface, and you get like really high quality audio.
Funny story about Marantz. One of my first pieces of hardware I ever bought was a Marantz CD burner.
Oh yeah, nice.
Cost me so much money. It was an outboard CD burner.
So Marantz is different from Marantz Professional. Just
okay.
Just like Denon and Denon Professional are different, right?
Good to know. Good to know. This,
yeah.
I didn't know that, but
And
I know
Pioneer,
the brand name.
Pioneer Pro, same Pioneer DJ, same thing.
Right.
Totally different companies, but yeah.
Right. That's business, right? They have to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Marantz old professional, the CD burner was like 95 or 6. And it was just, you know, like a VCR looking box. And I remember, yeah, having to finalize discs. And I remember CDRs were like super expensive back then, and none of those CDRs would work now. They would have all been oxidized and crap by now. Any case.
Yeah, no, that kind of brings up the, I bought a Marantz Professional USB dual cassette deck recorder, and I've been just taking all my old mixtapes from the 90s and just dumping them to USB with the Marantz Pro deck, which is awesome.
Can I send you a shoebox of tapes?
Dude,
you can do that?
Yeah, I mean, I got a shoebox right here full of tapes. But that's I don't know, that's Marantz Pro, you know, it's cool. They're kind of more broadcast friendly than Marantz, right? Marantz is more home audio. So.
Right.
Yeah, man. Yeah, lighting I think is crucial. I was gonna ask you what kind of lights do you have? Any specific lights that you're using, or are they like?
Yeah. Let me find the. Can I throw the box away? What's that? For the lights? I don't know. I forgot. I just had them. Give me a second. Give me 1 second.
Sure.
So this is the bag that they came in. It's Pro Master. Can you read that?
Yeah, Pro Master.
Yep. So this is a Pro Master package. It was 2 lights. I'll send you the link to it after our conversation.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be great.
And the retail was like $280 for the pair.
Okay.
And they're DC. They're not battery powered. They're LED. They come with a sock. And they get super bright. I have them like on the lowest setting right now because
you can diffuse the light basically.
You can diffuse the light,
yeah.
And I use it so I keep mentioning 3.7 lighting. So I have one light that's directly on me, and I have one light that's running fill, right, and then I have a third light behind me that's kind of catching my shoulders,
okay,
and the top of my head, and so that's the way that I usually try to light myself, is one on me, one kind of filling in, or usually the one is kind of like on one to the side a little bit, not directly on, but kind of.
You don't have them running right now, though.
Yeah, I do.
Oh, you do? Okay. I noticed there's a little bit of like artifacts around you, like on.
That's because I'm doing the virtual background from Zoom.
Yeah, right. Zoom is sort of crappy, but if you were in OBS, it would be much cleaner, I think.
Yeah. The artifacting and stuff is all from Zoom.
Yeah.
And I am using a cheaper webcam right now, and it does have its drawbacks. I mean, it's a Logitech C500.
Sure.
Like Handycam from 2001.
Right. I'm using a Razer Kaio, which is pretty cool. It's got a light ring on it, so it kind of lights up my face, which it's a pretty good camera. You can't find them though. They're pretty hard to find right now.
Let's see if I can get I'll show you the light here.
Yeah.
You can't really see the light because it's on the chroma key. Hang on, let me fix that real quick here.
Sure.
I'm gonna show my ass.
Let's see man. Here. No worries.
All right. So there's one of the lights.
Yep.
Let's see, and then the other light is over there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the subject light is behind me. And then so that's I just kind of set the camera
bro, you
right
just
here.
Shattered my illusion. I thought I was a freaking jungle show.
Right? So theater of the mind, my friend.
Yeah.
So you just get creative with it. You'll notice that I've created what's called a depth of field effect. The background is actually a little bit blurry.
Yeah.
That's just me. I just took the picture in Photoshop and put a slight Gaussian blur on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then that way it makes your subject pop, because it's a photography trick called depth of field.
Yeah, totally. I'm familiar. Yeah, that's awesome. That's actually one reason that DSLRs are pretty nice, because you can get that depth of field effect.
Yeah, they have that big sensor, so you have the ability to focus on your subject, but put the background blurry. And if anybody was wondering what that depth of field means, look at your hand. Put your hand in front of your face and look at your hand. When your eyes focus on your hand, you'll notice that everything behind it becomes blurry. So that's the way our eyes naturally see things. And so you want to create that effect visually so that it's more comfortable for somebody watching to watch, basically.
Yeah, because then otherwise everything just looks like it's at the same distance.
Right.
Where like it kind of gives you that sort of
depth.
Depth of field,
Right.
Yeah. Depth of field, yeah.
Right.
Exactly. Cool, man.
Since we're talking about video too, I did want to mention that if you're doing the head-on DJ shot, right? You a lot of times, like, okay, so everyone likes to talk about, when they're talking about webcams, they talk about like the Logitech C920 or these webcams that were designed for this conferencing, right? A lot of times those cameras, they have too narrow of what's called a field of view, right? And like the Logitech C920 has what's like a 80 degree or 78 degree field of view. That means that coming out of the camera, it's 78 degrees going out, right? And so what that means is that if you have that live stream, that head-on DJ shot with the live stream and the gear in front of you, that 78 degree field of view is going to be too narrow, and you're not going to be able to get the whole rig into the shot unless you back the camera up so far that now it looks like you're standing in the back of the room in order to fit everything into the shot. You can't get that tight close-up shot with all the gear in it. You need a wide field of view, right?
Yeah, like a wide angle lens.
Like a wide angle lens, right?
Yeah.
So one of the main reasons why I have the DSLR as the DJ booth cam, more so than anything else, because I have a lens on it that runs out to like 114 degrees out. So it's a nice wide field of view at 14 millimeters is what that is. And then so that's able to give me that shot where it's still close to the DJ, but you've got you can still see all the stuff that you're doing.
So what field of view you say you're using?
It's 114 degrees, I believe.
114. Okay.
Yeah, or maybe it's 120 degrees. The lens goes back. It goes from 10 millimeters to 18 millimeters, and I have it set at 14 millimeters.
Right. Okay.
So it's not totally fish-eyed out. It's like a little bit back still. It's not. It doesn't look completely rounded. You know what I mean? It's not full Beastie Boys video. It's like just kind of almost.
Yeah. The interesting thing is that I'm actually using. So the last, I don't know if you saw it at all, but the last video I made, or the last live DJ set I did with Little John, who's a Santa Cruz DJ from the shop, I used the new iPad Pro, and because it has a wide angle lens, right? So I don't know, a lot of people don't know this, but and I want to get to this as well, like OBS. You know, I want to talk about the OBS thing in a minute, but basically, like, you can actually set an iDevice, like an iOS device or an iPad, as a virtual camera and just use it as another camera, which is great. I don't know if you've ever done that, but
yeah, I've been telling people, because when this whole COVID thing hit and DJs started blowing me up about live streams, they still do, which is fine. First thing that they said is that, man, I don't have a webcam. What am I going to do? And I can't find a webcam because they're all like 5 times as much in price as they used to be.
You have a phone?
Yeah. So I tell them, I was like, look, your phone is an amazing camera, and it has a better computer behind it than any of the top cameras on the market right now.
That's right.
And it has a microphone, and it has like the ability to go over Wi-Fi. Like, you have all these capabilities in a phone, and if you're like me, there's a good chance you have a 3 or 4-year-old phone that's sitting in a drawer that you've already shelved, and you don't even need to use your primary phone.
Yeah, I mean, even the camera on an iPhone 5S is like...
I'm using an iPhone 5S as one of my cameras.
Yeah.
I use it as my overhead camera.
Yeah.
It's going over Wi-Fi. I'm airplaying the signal to my broadcast machine.
Yeah. So you're using the NDS thing?
No, I use a program called, I'm on a Windows machine. It's on a Windows 10 machine. It's a program called APower Mirror. Okay. And basically what that does is it sets up my Windows machine, it uses the Wi-Fi card to be able to be what do you call it, like a hotspot for my mobile devices.
That's cool.
And then once I'm connected to that particular hotspot, then I can use the AirPlay feature that's built into iOS. So I'm mirroring the screen from my iPhone to OBS using this software, and I'm mirroring it via AirPlay.
I bet you that works a lot better than this NDS thing, because
the problem is there's about, I'd say, 500 milliseconds of delay.
Right.
So you have to off-sync your audio in order to match with the video, or else it's not going to look like it's in time.
Right.
So
yeah. So the way I'm doing something similar, but I mean, not exactly that. It's totally actually kind of different. But OBS has an iOS plugin.
It's OBS camera.
Yeah, exactly. So
Elgato has one too. Did you know that?
You mean no? What do you mean?
Elgato has a camera link application, a software app that works exactly like OBS camera. It's only $10 too.
Okay.
And it's just like OBS camera. You install an extension into OBS and you install an app on your mobile device.
Right.
And then they link with each other through OBS, and then it's Elgato. And I've heard that it actually performs really well.
And it works for an iPhone?
And it works for iPhone, and it works for Android as well.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So I would look into that and OBS camera. The thing I've noticed with OBS camera that I've been getting from some users is that OBS camera, the iOS app, has a preference set by default to automatically update the app when it launches. And there was an update that happened during COVID, and it threw everybody's cameras offline because they needed to go and they needed to update the extension app as well.
Yeah,
in the OBS Studio. And there's no auto update for the OBS Studio extension. You actually have to go and do it yourself manually.
Yep.
So they created that. Sounds like you had the same experience.
Yeah, actually, I was about to live stream Little John actually, and it wasn't working, and it caused us to delay because we had told everybody, hey, we're going to be on at 6:30, and it ended up, I had to update that whole camera thing, and
I got calls for 3 weeks in a row from that.
Really?
Nonstop, every day. Billy, I can't go live. What the hell's going on? Billy, I'm like tech support for these guys, right? I'm happy to do it.
Yeah.
If I have the time. If I don't have the time, I'll be a dick, and they know if I'm being a dick, I'm just busy.
Right.
That's just friends, right? Yeah. So I remember that happening. I actually did an episode on my show about it because it happened so much that I needed to create a video for people to just send a link to people to be like, "This is what's wrong. This is what's wrong." And this is my quick response. That's kind of been my motivation for making videos, is just to stop the phone calls.
Yeah, I hear you, man. No, I mean, my plan with this whole thing is to make, we're doing some board repair videos too, just straight up, like, here's how you solder a backlight onto a motherboard, because it's like, I just want people to know, hey, this is what we do. This is how we can help you. And if you got any questions, if you're really stuck on this thing and you want to know more, go to the site. We got all our videos posted, and I think this is great because we're about to do this kind of live streaming conversation with a bunch of tech folks in Santa Cruz, and I just wanted to kind of get, because we talk about this in the shop all the time, but it's like, until it's recorded and it's, it's hard for people to sort of remember, right?
Yep. And honestly, like, keep doing record the shop talk, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've been, like I was saying, I've been watching this guy's channel that I can't remember. It's funny that I can't remember his name, but I watch it so much. But his he's in his shop, and he's going through his daily motions, and he's talking to his audience, and he's got like 4,000.
Not Louis Rossman, is it?
No.
Okay. Well, that's another one to check out, Rossman. But he's all about soldering, like fixing Apple's boards because they're.
This guy's he's into retro gaming, so he's restoring old video games.
Oh, cool.
And like, what I mean, doing that kind of stuff. And
well, if you remember, send me the link and I'll
Yep.
post it so people can.
In any case, yeah, I think that kind of content, I hate saying the word content, but that kind of content is like really enjoyable for me personally. So I'd like to see more of that.
That's cool. Well, hey man, it's been, I think we've been talking for a good hour or so now, which is, I don't know.
Good.
I don't want to keep you for too long, but
Today's my chill day, man. I'm about to go get tacos.
yeah, right on. Only other thing, I think the other topic that is software, right? I mean, we talked a little bit, we've, kind of talked about OBS, this and that, but, like obviously OBS is what I use. It sounds like you're using it too.
I'm using Slobs. I'm using Streamlabs OBS, not OBS Studio.
Oh, okay. So tell me about that.
So on a Windows machine, you can install a client app that the back, because OBS Studio is open source, right? So they took the open source engine of OBS and developed their own application called Streamlabs OBS, right?
Okay.
And there's a few people that have done this. I use Streamlabs OBS because, well, at this point, it's because it's what I started using and now I'm just using it. But the reason I like using Streamlabs, and I'll tell you the reason why people don't like using Streamlabs as well. The reason I like using Streamlabs is because it's all consolidated. I can see things that would need my dashboard for. All in the application. So I can see the chat, I can see my notifications, I can see all of that as well. And also Streamlabs has, in my opinion, a more robust designing capabilities. I have more control over the graphic design aspect in Streamlabs. My workflow is faster. Now, if I was to compare it to anything, I would compare it to people who choose their DAW, right?
Yeah.
You've got people who fly hard for Ableton, people who fly hard for Logic, FL Studio, what have you, right?
Yeah.
And my position with Streamlabs versus OBS Studio is the same position I would have for a DAW. You can make crap in anything.
Yeah, totally.
Right?
Yep.
So it's all about what workflow works best for you. And for me right now at Streamlabs, so now I'll go into the downside. The downside is Streamlabs is a hog. You would think it was designed by Apple because it takes up so many system resources. It's just like, it's graphically pretty. It's got like, you know what I mean? Like it's a lot of user-friendly kind of aspects to it in some degree. It's not like super bloated in order to keep the layman's at bay, but there is definitely more resources being used if you're monitoring it than say OBS Studio or Stream Elements.
Right.
I don't know if you're familiar with Stream Elements, but that's actually a pretty genius way of doing it.
No, actually.
So Stream Elements takes everything off and puts it into the cloud. So instead of putting all the rendering task into your streaming machine,
it's cloud rendering.
It's cloud rendering, and then you're adding everything as a browser source in your OBS Studio. So
so you got to have pretty good bandwidth for that.
Yeah, it pushes it into the bandwidth. Exactly.
Yeah. But hey, if you're on fiber, which a lot of people are these days.
Right. Bandwidth is becoming a non-issue for a lot of people, especially us in Northern California.
Yeah. I'm unfortunately not on fiber yet, which they don't offer it, but
we're in the Comcast monopoly still, but it's but the infrastructure is happening, and the average bandwidth per household is obviously increasing daily.
Right.
So it's not going to go backwards unless we unless things fall into Mad Max times, which they could very possibly happen.
Yeah. That's a whole other topic, I guess.
Right, I guess. Right. Let's not steer it into that direction.
Yeah. I did watch The Walking Dead, though, so I'm prepared. Anyway.
But software, so I'm using OBS Studio. And then, like I said, I'm using like certain little utility apps to get the job done, like VLC or your browser. I mentioned APower Mirror, and then things like that. I'm using GIMP and DaVinci Resolve for my image editing and video editing tools. And then I use Rekordbox DJ as my DVS, and a Pioneer DDJ 1000 as my controller.
That's straight up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've got my Denon Prime 4, but
I love the Prime.
I got these CDJs in the shop, and they're in box, and I haven't wanted to open them yet because once you open them, they're open box. But the reality is that the Denon Prime 4 will play Rekordbox as well.
Yep.
So I'm kind of like, I had a DJ come by the other day, and he brought his thumb drives and plugged them into the Prime 4. He's like, this is great. I love this thing. I'm like, yeah, it's, most people are really, like a lot of people are really attached to Pioneer, and I get it. It's a club standard, really. Like everybody has CDJs in the club now, but there's something about that nice big touchscreen that's on that Prime 4 that people just love. And it's like a real touchscreen, you can swipe and slide and scroll and do, it feels like an iPhone,
I love that Denon is still trying to compete with Pioneer after all these years.
Yeah.
And I think that they've made a major play into the mobile space with their standalones and the Denon Prime.
Go.
Yep. And I think that they've definitely made a play into the pro space with their Prime 4, and basically moving into that price point of DJ looking for hardware. I think that they've had the reputation of sort of being having subpar components and not being as built as well as Pioneer for years.
Yeah.
And I feel like they've overcome that objection in the last few years. And you can see that they're putting their money where their mouth is. They've got like these flagship DJs that they're sponsoring. They've got like these real campaigns where they're actually showing an acknowledgement towards DJs. And that's you got to support a company like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Versus a company, that may or may not be doing that. So Pioneer is a great company for pros, but they have a tendency of letting their pro hardware run its course maybe even longer than it needs to before actually addressing anything new or updating anything.
Yeah, like those CDJs are pretty out of date at this point, I think.
Right.
But they're still the main thing everyone uses.
They're still the flagship, right? So I feel like Denon right now gets the award for hardware innovation.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at the SC6000M, right? The one that they're the new players that have the vinyl, like, and they're, I mean, I got a chance to play with them at NAMM. I don't have one in the shop. I really wish I did. Part of the reason is because I have the Rain 12s in the shop, which are great for,
which are awesome. Yeah.
They're phenomenal. Actually, I just sold my last pair. I need to up on those too. But yeah, I mean, those 6000s are phenomenal, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
the control on them is awesome. Laidback Luke was touring with them for a while, I believe.
Yeah.
And Denon, I remember when I went to NAMM 2018 in music, the major distributor for, they had their own,
everybody.
They had their own little room, right? Yep. And this is when Denon was first, like 2 years ago, I would say, was first trying to make their major play towards Pioneer DJs. Grasp, right? Because before Denon maybe was focusing on a consumer prosumer as far as DJs goes. They definitely had a pro audio department. Their microphones and interfaces were all there. But as far as the DJ gear goes, it seemed like they were focusing consumer prosumer for a long time.
Yeah.
And then they really made a push into their pro market 2-3 years ago. And I remember talking to the Denon guy, and it was really impressive with what they're trying to do. And I'm glad that they're still pushing to try to compete with Pioneer, because if anything, Pioneer needs the competition to keep them from being complacent.
They do. I mean, they're kind of like, I don't want to compare them to Apple, but they're kind of like the big brand, They're
very much Apple. And in a lot of ways, even their business model is Apple.
Yeah.
And I would like, you want to talk about like differences in stance. We have like in the United States, particularly, we have this, like, do you use Serato or do you use Rekordbox battle?
Or Traktor.
Or Traktor would be like the third person. Okay.
You know what's cool about Traktor, and a lot of people don't know this. Okay, I don't know if you've got to play with this yet.
Yes.
They have this feature where it's like a new thing that they did, and I forget what they're called. I'm just totally drawing a blank on the name, but you can basically break out a song into its individual tracks and DJ just those.
Stems.
Yes, thank you, stems. Dude, that thing is that is where things need to go, honestly.
Stems, if you're I could see stems being amazing for a few reasons. One, if you're like a producer DJ that wants to stem out your work and perform it like a DJ.
Totally.
And then also, if your taste in music leans on, I want to say like progressive or minimal type of, it has like music that has a long drawn out progression. Its focus isn't like pop music where it comes in and 30 seconds into the song you already got the gist of the song. It's a song that builds over time, right?
Yeah, that's right.
In those types of genres, I can see stem mixing being awesome. Like if you're a minimal techno DJ or tech house producer DJ, and you have these songs that they build over a long period of time, being able to mix that with stems can create an epic effect, right? Now, but with pop music or anybody who's trying to DJ on a mobile level, usually pop music is structured so that you know what the song is about in the first few seconds, right?
Yep.
So in that situation, stems doesn't do you any good at all.
No, it's true. Yeah, and they're also not easy to. There's not a lot of them out there.
It's a format that's and
it's young.
Ironically enough, the format is popular with the crowd I just mentioned earlier. You know what I mean? Like that's the crowd that loves it. So awesome.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, man. Well, I don't know. I don't know what else to ask you about here. Do you have any? Well, okay. So there is one topic we haven't covered, and that's editing, post-production. Now, do you do any of that?
Yeah, I've been doing more of it. I was a Final Cut Pro user for years, and then I do have a Mac here, but I just would rather just cut the content on the same machine I'm using to broadcast. Yeah. And so, because I'm not doing like a file server anywhere in here or anything like that. It's just all in the local drive, right? And I don't want to do any like SMP, AFP file sharing across platform, like on the LAN or whatever. I just want to do it. You know what I mean? So I'm using DaVinci Resolve, and my workflow when it comes to Twitch is when the VOD becomes available, video on demand. Sorry, when the video on demand becomes available, I'll download it locally and then I'll throw it into Resolve and I'll cut it in Resolve. I'm not an amazing editor at all.
I'm not really either.
My editing, I'll give you like, this is an old trick too. I edit off the audio. So I'm looking for the silence in the audio. I'm looking for I can see what I'm saying. I can see it in the waveform. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm just looking for that in the audio and cutting all those out. And then it makes the edits for the video the same the way I need anyways. You know what I mean? And I can work faster by cutting the audio because I am an audio producer. Right. And cutting audio is second nature to me. Yeah, totally. It's just, I can read it. I can read it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's how I'm cutting my videos. And my workflow is to take the video on demand, cut it down to something more condensed, and then distribute it out to my other platforms. So like I'll cut a 3-minute clip for Facebook and a 30-second clip for Instagram, and maybe do a 10-minute highlight for YouTube. And then I'm always trying to use the content that I have and not just make it a highlight reel. Sometimes I'll add stuff to it. Like I'll do my own little monologue narrations or something like that I've recorded additionally, or I'll even record content specifically just for it, not even using content that I've already, not even using the live stream. But the idea is, I'm using DaVinci Resolve or whatever video editing software. Again, you can make crap on anything, right? I'm using the software to produce content outside of the live stream, and I'm self-aware that on Facebook they're not going to watch it for more than a few minutes. On Instagram, you got them for 30 seconds, and on YouTube, if they love you and they're subscribed, you got them for 10 minutes. Right. And then Twitch is the long form. My 2-hour shows on Twitch average an hour and 40 minutes locked in. Right. So That's the long form. That's
Well, see, that brings up like an interesting question too. It's like, Restream, for example, right? Like when you don't use it.
No.
So I've been using it.
It's against TOS for Twitch.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
You can't restream, and you can't rebroadcast the same content within 24 hours. That's in the TOS for Twitch.
You mean as Facebook or someone else, or
right? You can't. So if and I don't know how they're policing it, but in the TOS it says that if you produce content on Twitch, it stays exclusive on Twitch for 24 hours, and if you violate, that's a violation of TOS. And so you can't restream and you can't repost it in 24 hours, unless you're reposting a link to the VOD on the Twitch site.
Interesting. Okay.
So restreaming is technically against the TOS.
So that's actually a real problem, considering that video you just posted about Twitch and the crackdowns that's starting to happen, right?
Yeah.
Like
DMCA.
For DJs, I mean that's gonna be a real problem. So
Twitch is right now, if you want to talk about DMCA, we can go for another hour. But if
you already have a video on that, so I would just say, hey, let's point to that.
Well,
but
let me give you the TLDR.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, so right now, if you want to know what happened, watch the video. Okay, but right now the ball is in Twitch's hands, and they have to make a play.
Right.
They can either go the route that YouTube is going, which is they're going to demonetize those videos, and all of that money that could be monetized from those videos is going to go to the rights holders instead. Or they can go the route that Mixcloud went, and that is to license, get all the license that makes all the rights holders happy. And this is the person who wrote the song, the person who wrote the lyrics, the person who is on the label, the publisher of the music, there's parties involved with the one song, right? Especially if it's a charting big song, it's a company that produced this product, right?
Yeah.
And so if they don't get the licensing for that, and then they're going to do what Facebook or Instagram does, and they'll mute you live, or they're going to do what YouTube does, and they're going to demonetize your stream. Right. Either way, that's bad news for DJs, and it's going to push us all to a different format. I think because this is bigger than DJs. This is Grand Theft Auto players, which has like 78 million followers on Twitch. This is Just Dance people that play the game Just Dance. This is NBA 2K. This is every game. Beat Saber. This is every game that has licensed music as a part of their game, but rebroadcasting that licensed music is technically a DMCA violation. Every game like that is subject at this. And so they don't just stand to lose DJs, which is like maybe 3 million people are following.
Yeah, it's like 2% of their whole.
Yeah, less than 10% of their market share.
Yeah.
But if they acknowledge the whole audience is affected by this, we're talking about, their most popular game, Fortnite. Mm-hmm. The most popular streamers on Fortnite, I don't know if you play Fortnite, I'm sure you have. Mm-hmm. You sit in queue before you go to your next match, right? And you can sit in queue for maybe 2 or 3 minutes at a time, waiting for your next match to go, right? And while you're sitting in queue, it is not uncommon for popular streamers to be playing music in the background, to be playing, they engage with their audience. Their audience even makes requests, and they play those requests, and then it goes back to the game, right? This is Call of Duty. This is Fortnite. This is all Street Fighter does that too. You sit in queue and you're waiting for a match, and then you go to the match. And while you're sitting in queue, that's when you're engaging with your audience. And while you're engaging with your audience, there's music playing, and that's a direct violation of DMCA. And so I know I'm going off on a topic, but that's something that Twitch needs to acknowledge. And I'm sure they're not stupid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's money on the table that they're leaving behind if they think that they're going to be able to just demonetize users, because these users will leave. If they demonetize these users will leave and go somewhere where they can monetize, and that's going to be Mixcloud. Yeah,
Mixcloud's got it right now, but they're not.
They don't have the network.
Yeah,
it's hand in glove. Twitch needs to buy Mixcloud, and then it's game over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If Twitch buys Mixcloud, then they can implement the years that Mixcloud put into licensing.
I don't think Mixcloud actually records the streams and saves them either, which
they do audio only on demand.
That's right. So I think that's actually kind of a problem in a lot of ways, because I want to, you know, whenever I have a DJ set, I want people to be able to go back and watch it, you know, post it on Facebook, share it.
I've noticed, right, and you're right, you make a good point. I've noticed that right now, on Twitch right now, my live content viewership far outweighs the VODs. For two reasons. One, the VODs are usually end up being muted because of the DMCA strike prevention. That's Twitch trying to keep us from getting deleted to begin with, right? Twitch is running a bot on the VODs, and they're finding DMCA strike, or stuff that could be possibly DMCA strikeable,
Yep.
and they're muting the VOD, that portion of the VOD. It's happened to all of us.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interfering with the viewing experience of somebody going back and watching the VOD. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that is decreasing viewership of my VODs to begin with. And second, there is so much live content right now that video on demand content is not on demand. People don't really want to watch last week's show. They want to watch the next show.
Yeah, that's right.
And so I've been using Twitch's muted VODs as sort of a way to create FOMO. You know what I mean? You're going to come, you're going to watch the VOD, you're going to watch it for a few minutes. It's going to get muted by like the third or fourth track in.
Right.
And you're going to be like, man, I should have watched this live. I want to chat. I want to engage with this stream. I want to be a part of the stream. And I'm catching it second wind. I'm getting the sloppy seconds.
Yeah.
And it's not making me want to stay. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's making me want to come back. So, you know, you pitch your stream schedule, you do get all that out of the way in the beginning of your stream, because you know that anybody who's watching the beginning is somebody who's watching the video on demand. They're watching the beginning of the stream, right?
Right.
So you're getting all that information out so that when they're disappointed in the fact that they're watching the stream on demand and it gets muted, they know, okay, yeah, he said that he's going to be back on this day. We're going to come back on this day. We're going to watch it live. So, yeah, I as far as creating a video on demand rebroadcast of your DJ stream, that's an even more expensive license than Mixcloud has. That's called a sync license. That's the same license that movie companies get to be able to do a compilation for their soundtracks. That's the license that commercials get to put popular songs in the background of their commercials. And sync licensing is done on an individual track basis. So it'd have to be sync licensing for all songs, as opposed to a blanket license that covers this entire label and all these rights hold. You know what I mean?
Right. You're talking by sync license, you mean restreaming.
Sync, by creating something that a licensed piece of music is synchronized with a piece of video and then played back through a medium. That requires a synchronization license by the rights holders.
Right. Yeah. So it kind of makes me wonder. I mean, probably the answer is that they already have this license, but guys like, you know, Carl Cox, David Morales, like some of these guys, like they're probably just, you know, they've got the rights, right? I mean, that's.
Well, here's the way that it works. Yeah, I'll tell you exactly how this works. I had somebody online, Alex Diaz with Dubset, and he was explaining to me that these companies, once they start generating revenue in a certain area, they develop departments for that area, right?
Yeah, sure.
So these companies like Facebook / Instagram and Amazon / Twitch, they have music departments with people that are knowledgeable in the music scene.
Right.
And they deal with, you know, when Rolling Stone wants to do an interview with Amazon,
right,
they're the person that's that person, right? Mm-hmm. These are the music experts, you know, the teams for those sites. So they know damn well who Carl Cox is. Yeah. They know damn well who D Nice is. Yeah. You know, and so they know that when these people are going online and going streaming and generating revenue for their site, that they get special privileges. That's the bottom line. Yeah. Questlove from the Roots Crew. He's streaming every single night of the week, blatantly blasphemizing DMCA. Right. But you know that somewhere in the background, there's a team of lawyers and a bunch of music snobs that are gathering up all the music that he's playing and paying the rights holders out their due payments in order to avoid a DMCA flag.
Right.
Well, not exactly. It's a little bit different than that. They're trying to make money. So they have all the data and they're ready to pay them, but somebody needs to complain first before they actually pay them. That's how that actually works.
I guess with all that in mind, I mean, you know, it's pretty easy to get scared away, right? And I think for me personally, I don't really care. Like, they can come after me all they want. They can mute my stuff. They can do whatever.
Right.
You know, I'm still going to do it.
Right.
You know, because frankly, it's a lot of fun and people need it right now. And I may not be reaching
there's deeper arguments to that
10,000 people, but I'm probably reaching like 30, 40 of my friends who are stoked to hear it. Right. That means something to me. So.
And it should mean something to you. And honestly, like, there's deeper arguments than just the money aspect of this copyright thing. Many would definitely argue that copyright kills culture.
That's right.
And copyright has only been around for a century. And we as humans have culture that's obviously lasted a lot longer than 100 years.
Yeah.
And we built on inspiration. We built on the shoulders of those who were there before us as humans, right? Mm-hmm. And to prevent that is a dumbing down of our culture. And so there has to be a public domain, a rich public domain, not just a public domain of 120-year-old songs.
Yeah.
There has to be a rich public domain to be inspired from and to build from in order to grow. And so if you're scared of a DMC strike, just know that everything has a copyright. The headphones I'm wearing have a copyright. This microphone has a copyright. And you're equally violating somebody's rights. Whether or not they want to enforce it is the only difference.
Right.
Sony knows, yeah, this is my intellectual property, or M-Audio knows, yeah, this is my intellectual property, but you're promoting my brand right now. Why the hell would I even be mad at that?
Yeah, right. I mean, that's the argument I always have. It's like,
right,
go on, you know,
right.
We're giving you business.
So music has this weird relationship with the power of influence, right? They understand that, yeah, certain people are influential and are making us money, but also it's costing us money in order to do that. So at what point do we say, hey, we're losing money because people are able to just freely share our products. And so, you know, there's a gradient slope to that. But I think that completely abolishing the ability to create using the palette of the world, so to speak, as your sources you're drawing from, is limiting to the expansion of what we can do. Just because we have the ability to digitally create a facsimile of somebody else's work and then reconstruct it into our own presentation. Yes, we can do it more accurately now than time has ever been able to tell us. But we've been doing this in some way for hundreds of years. And so, like, it's not, since our existence, honestly.
Right.
And so you can't stop somebody from doing that just by saying, don't do that. It's going to happen anyways. You know what I mean? Right.
That's right. And I think people should, that being said, I think people should be encouraged. I mean, I like to restream because, so I actually have for the shop, for Santa Cruz Tech Exchange, we have a $1,000 business Restream account, for the year. Right. And, my thought,
I'm not against Restream, just so you know. I'm not against Restream. Yeah.
But I mean, like, you can't actually stream to your Facebook, business page without the paid account, right? So,
right.
So I got one because I want to be able to.
Solid investment.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I want to be able to talk about, take anything that we're doing and play it on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, everywhere, And I think that's something that, I don't know. Maybe there's reasons I should reconsider for doing that with DJ sets, especially this Twitch thing that you're talking about. I hadn't really thought too much about that, but
well, I'll tell you my pros and cons because I weighed out the pros and cons of restreaming. I have, I've thought about it, right?
Yeah.
And the pros would obviously be you're increasing your reach, no matter what.
Totally.
Because more numbers is more numbers is more numbers is more numbers, right?
I mean, my goal is to let people know about the tech exchange.
Right. So if your goal is to shout to the world in as many avenues and channels as you possibly can, then Restream makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
My goal was to drive traffic to my Twitch channel. My goal was to use the networks that I've been building for years on these different social platforms, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and using that reach that I've been developing for years and funneling them into the Twitch channel. So giving away the cow and the milk via Restream wouldn't do that.
Yeah,
it would just, people would just kind of say, oh yeah, there's Billy streaming again. Oh yeah, there's Billy streaming again. There would be no value in my streams, and there would be no reason to actually go to the source. So my angle was to instead stream exclusively on Twitch and then generate content on these different social platforms that drives my audience to Twitch. That's my strategy.
You know, it might be a good strategy. Actually, it might be something that we should reconsider as well, because, you know, every time we stream, Facebook, you know, cuts the stream.
Yeah.
Right. And so then, you know, I've got people watching on Facebook that are like, ah, crap, where'd that go? You know, but we're still going on YouTube, you know. And so
I'll tell you my experience with Facebook. I've been streaming on Facebook for years. I live streaming on Facebook has been around for years, right? Yeah. And I never took it seriously because I was gigging all the time. Yeah. But like I would randomly just like, I'm gonna go live and then DJ, right? Yep. And I'll tell you what I noticed about Facebook and a difference between Facebook and Twitch. Facebook, I would immediately get a shit ton of viewers, right?
Totally.
Immediately the numbers just start cranking up because I've got, you know, this many thousands of people on this account and this many thousands of people on this account, and I'm shooting it out and they're all tuning in and it's like hundreds of viewers at once, right? And then I'd say after about 20, 30 minutes, that drops down to 10.
Right.
And there's two reasons for that. One, Facebook, the way that it's designed, there's so much content coming to the user that the user is naturally going to see your stream, give it the thumb because they're your friend, right? And then give it a couple minutes, maybe give it a song or two, and then just scroll on about their business and look for the next thing, right? I do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the Facebook user experience.
Absolutely.
Instagram being the same thing, but more Insta, faster. You know what I mean? I give it 30 seconds and I'm over it. You know what I mean? So I can, and I compare that. I'd say the difference between like a Facebook and Instagram versus Twitch is like Facebook is like you're a street performer and you're on a busy intersection and you've got a tip jar in front of you and you've got thousands of people just kind of going by, and every now and then someone kind of stops and watches you for a couple seconds and then just keeps on going by, and that's your Facebook user experience. Twitch is like that little bar that people go into, they see the performer, they're here for this show, they're going to check out the show, they're going to stick around, they're going to take the whole thing in, and they're going to enjoy it, and then they're going to talk about it later after the show's over, right? So you have an audience this is their destination. They're coming for this. They're coming to check it out. They're going to stay longer. They're going to engage with this. This is what they're coming to do. And so I have noticed that honestly, like it doesn't make any sense for me to stream on these other platforms the way that I'm streaming on Twitch.
Right.
Because all that I'm doing is just opening the window and to the street for everyone to kind of walk by and look in for a second and keep going. Right. And it doesn't drive any more traffic to my Twitch. It doesn't generate anything, any kind of growth anywhere. And I've noticed that the growth actually is working by understanding how people consume content on different platforms and creating that content specifically for that platform.
Yeah, and I think what yours for your purposes, it makes a lot of sense. I think,
like I said, if you're trying to reach out to the world, Restream makes fucking perfect sense, right?
Well, I think what I'm trying to do more than anything is get a lot of followers on our Facebook page so they can hear about our deals and our specials and our products that we have coming in. And
see, your target, you're trying to get them to land at Santa Cruz Tech Exchange.
That's right.
So, and I'm trying to get them to land on Twitch.
Right.
So there's a different angle for that. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So,
yeah. Man, this has been a fantastic conversation, dude. Like, It's really good to see you again too.
Good to see you too, brother. Seriously, we should do this more often.
Yeah, I agree. This has been a good talk, and
if you don't mind, I'd like to invite you on my talk show. If you don't mind, I'd like to invite you on my talk show.
Dude, I would love that.
Okay, let's schedule it for like one of the next couple Wednesdays. I'll plan on it.
I'd love that.
Okay, I'll hit you early with the topic of discussion, and then we can get deep.
That sounds great, man. Yeah, and I'd love to have you on again and talk more about. I mean, we covered I think 10 different topics. We could do a whole.
You could cut a week's worth of content out of this and post something a day a week.
Yeah, I think this is gonna be like 500 videos for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
So, it's awesome, man. Well, I don't know. I think that's all I got right now. I think
let's wrap it up. All right.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. But much love, brother. Thank you so much.
Likewise, and we'll do it again soon.